All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, of course, thank you very much for tuning in for another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast. Of course, I go by the name once again of King Von Jr. For those that don't know, and of course, you can follow on YouTube as well as I'm streaming right now on YouTube, youtube.com// at Von Resper Jr. VAUGHN RESPERJR, all lowercase. But anyway, this has been quite a year when it comes to wrestling. It's been a roller coaster year. It's a rather eventful year, if you will. You know what I mean? In more ways than one. Probably one of the more eventful years that I've seen in a very very long time. You know what I mean? So plenty of highs and lows, all kind of different things. Like I said, and I know that terminology has been beaten to death, in terms of in terms of this year's such and such year is going to be eventful, but there's nothing like I've seen in a long time that's been like 2022. You know what I mean? So of course, like I said, I'm going to give my year in review in terms of in terms of pretty much like I guess the more some of the more major um headlines and news, if you will. Of course, starting off in January was was when we witnessed William Regal. Excuse me, like I said, William Regal get released. If anything, that was probably like the biggest release of release of January, if you will. And so that release, along with many others, a little bit later on in the year, like I said, that was a huge bombshell. And also, also that was also in January, that was when Brock Lesnar won the WWE title at Day One, which is the first and last Day One event. Also also the Royal Rumble. Lesnar lost the WWE title to Bobby Lashley, but ended up winning the Royal Rumble the very same night. So far, I already gave my review early on this year anyway, but that's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? So if anything, those are some of the major events when it came to January. Now, when it came to February, surprised that Shane McMahon was actually fired, released, from WWE because of his spot in the Royal Rumble, where where eventually he went into business for himself. So that was a huge surprise. In March, Biggie suffered, Biggie suffered a very severe neck injury. He broke his neck, in a spot against the Brawling Brutes, at the hands of Ridge Holland with the belly suplex on the outside. So like I said, that part. Of course, rest in peace, Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon. You know what I mean? So it was untimely. Like I said, it was a very untimely death. Of course, in March of this year, and also this was the same year that the Triple H announced his official retirement from in-ring competition. And of course, because a very severe like heart condition, heart ailment that he's been dealing with. So as a result, as a result, he's had to step away from in-ring competition. And if anything, he also solidified that. Of course, at WrestleMania 38 when he put his boots in the middle of the ring. But of course, since we're talking about that, in April, The Undertaker went to the WWE Hall of Fame, of course, as the headliner, obviously. You know what I mean? Of course, also that same weekend, Stone Cold Steve Austin made his appearance on night one of WrestleMania, and it went on to have his final match against Kevin Owens. It was actually an impromptu match. So originally, Stone Cold was just going to be a guest on the Kevin Owens show, but the segment ended up turning into an impromptu match. Austin wins, rides off into the sunset, if you will. I guess you could say whatever, you know what I mean. So, of course, Austin 316 reigns supreme. Of course, that same weekend, that same night, Cody Rhodes made his return to the WWE, as he was revealed as Seth Rollins' challenger for that night, and Cody ended up winning that match. Of course, had the self rivalry if you will. And of course, Roman Reigns went on to unify the WWE and Universal titles as he defeated Brock Lesnar in night 2 of WrestleMania 38 to close out that entire WrestleMania weekend. So those were the main major events when it came to the month of April. Now, this is where things start to take a really weird turn, really odd turn, in more ways than one, because the biggest bombshell of the month of May, really, this was the most infamous situation, was when Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of WWE. Of course, stemming from creative differences, creative issues, with Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis over Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis over the women's tag team titles, and and just feeling devalued and disrespected, and being deemed unprofessional, that whole thing, whatever. So as far, like I say, that was the ultimate headline of in the month of May. And of course, a side note, at the end of this, near the end, I'm gonna give my nominees for my year-end awards next week. So of course, this is definitely a candidate, for one of those categories. So of course, the Sasha and Naomi walkout, which completely sent shockwaves all across the WWE universe and just the wrestling universe itself in general. And of course, that same month, the Usos unified the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles as they became the undisputed unified tag team champions. In June, MJF cuts a work shoot promo before being taken off of TV. So that was his, let's just say, version of the pipe bomb. And of course, in July, Vince McMahon is forced to retire. Forced to retire from his position as the CEO, the owner of WWE, following an investigation, which later on was revealed that revealed that that's been up to he spent $20 million in shareholders' money, as he used it for hush money. So as I always say, Vince McMahon paid more for the kitty cat than he did for the rights of WCW. And of course, Vince McMahon was forcibly retired after 40 years. Of course, forcibly retired on all days on Shawn Michaels' birthday. And of course, not long after that, Triple H, at least within that same day or so, I believe it was, Triple H was promoted. It was within the same time frame. Triple H was promoted to the executive vice president position for WWE. So now he's the one that's taking over when it comes to the creative side, if you will. Dealing with talent relations and everything like that, booking, whatever you call it. So so big thing. He's more truly taking on more of that Vince role. And then not long after that, in fact, I believe it was that Monday, Stephanie was named the co-CEO of WWE along with Nick Khan. So what I mean. So those, those were the main headlines when it came to the month of July. Now in August, WWE announces that NXT UK would go on hiatus, and that same month was Clash of the Castle, where Roman Reigns defeated Drew McIntyre to retain the WWE Championship, and that was the debut, the main roster debut of Solo Sikoa. And of course, also the same month was the infamous AEW media scrum. Where CM Punk got jumped by Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And of course, in that same fight, Punk's buddy Ace Steel does his Street Sharks impression and starts biting everybody. You know what I mean? So yeah, so like I said, that was, of course, during the press conference, Punk just lashes out, and pretty much like and it was just a complete mess. Everybody knows, the rest is history. You know what I mean? So like I said, that same month was the AEW media scrum, and also also I think it was I want to say that same month as well, was when Ric Flair had his last match. Like I said, where they briefly revived Jim Crockett Promotions for the sake of Ric Flair having his final match, or as he said at that time, his alleged last match. You know what I mean? Let me see. I want to make sure. Oh, actually, let me go on that backtrack. Flair's last match actually took place on July 31st, 2022. So so if anything, it was actually the night right after SummerSlam that Flair had that debacle of a last match, and which happened to be, like I said, which happened to be against Jeff Jarrett. So I just want to make sure that that them getting all my events perfectly in order, if you will. You know what I mean? So and so and you know what I mean. So of course, as far as that, like I said, that those are the main events when it came to when it came to the summer, and also of course also of course fast forward in October, WWE returned to Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel 2022, and that was when Roman Reigns went toe to toe with YouTube sensation Logan Paul, and they had a phenomenal match. Roman wins and retains the title. And so like I said, of course, like I said, October, yeah, like I said, sorry, that was like I said, that sorry. Actually, you know what? And let me sorry. Sorry. Like I said, actually, sorry, but actually, I'm not so much October, but like early, like seeing like early November, was Crown Jewel 2022, Roman versus like I said, like somewhere, sorry, like I said, Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. You know what I mean? So as far as that, and also some like I said, also within that same time frame, it was also announced that that Randy Orton will be sidelined with a back injury, and is going to need like some type of like double fusion surgery. So we don't even know when he's going to be coming back. Of course, also WWE brings War Games to the main roster for Survivor Series. Survivor Series War Games takes place. Of course, summer, like I say, WWE Survivor Series takes place the weekend of Thanksgiving, and so of course, when it comes to December of 2022, the biggest bombshell right now so far, like the biggest headline, and the year hasn't even completely ended. We're not, and like like we're barely like within the halfway point of the month. Near the very like the halfway point to the end of the year, pretty much. And so so of course, as of this recording last night, Mandy Rose lost the NXT Championship to Roxanne Perez after holding the title for 413 days. So that's one thing that that Mandy ends up dropping the title. Of course, in large part because of because of her OnlyFans content. But not only does Mandy drop the title because of that, but as of this morning, she was released. The report came out courtesy of Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, which is verified. Anytime anything comes from him, it's official. The same way that if anything comes from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN concerning the NBA, it's true. You know what I mean? Like any type of basketball report that comes from Woj, it's legit. So anyway, Sean Ross Sapp reports that Mandy Rose had been released, and that completely sent shockwaves and just just blew everybody's mind. Certainly blew my mind, because like I said, no more than 24 hours earlier, she just dropped the title, and now she's immediately getting released, and so I mean, like I've already voiced my issue, like saying, voiced my displeasure about it, if you will, on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, you name it. I've been very vocal about it. Now, granted, of course, I don't condone certain things, if you will, but in the sense of, sort of the double standard type of thing, I certainly have a huge problem with it, because I'm gonna say it like this. I don't condone the fact that, the fact, of course, it's been revealed even more that she breached her contract. But it's just like the timing of it, especially when it comes, especially now that there's been another report of Vince McMahon sexual misconduct, some type of another like investigation, type of thing or whatever that just came out. And then within this, like it was like yesterday and then like this morning, the report is that Mandy is out the door. Once again, like I said, certain things I don't condone, especially considering that WWE's is a publicly traded company. I get that. They want to conduct themselves as family friendly, whatever, even though that's already been dispelled like a long time ago, publicly traded or not, even after WWE, both before and after WWE became a publicly traded company, they have aired some pretty reprehensible, some pretty tasteless things on TV. You know what I mean? And have had some pretty tasteless behavior. Hence, the plane ride from hell, that type of thing. This is after they became a publicly traded company. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Even afterwards, like I said, there have been plenty of controversies. Like I said, like I said, so many different things. Like I said, whether it's like whether it's deaths, whether it's scandals, you name it, whatever. All those different type of things. And WWE still stood 10 toes down with certain individuals who are, as I like to say, have been on creepy hours. But just how it happened that that the Mandy had her own platform, her own content, whatever, and she gets in trouble for it. But yet WWE has taken pleasure, excuse the expression, in exploiting women in their sexuality. You know what I mean? And just like I say, that like I said, the thing is they have a track record of the way that they exploit women's sex appeal. Like I said, whether it's partner, whether it comes through partnerships with Playboy and everything like that. So it's just like I said, I'm not here to like excuse what she did. Now, I'm gonna say it like this: if you want to give her a warning to not do it again, a warning to take it down, or if she happens to do it anyway, but at least at the most a suspension. If you like, my thing is this: going to the match, if your plan was to give her a suspension so that just for her to drop the title, I get it. But to terminate her completely right after she's had one of the most like I said, one of the longest reigning one of the longest reigning women's title runs in NXT history, the way she carried the women's division for an entire year, for the way that she reinvented and rebuilt and reinvented herself to, as like to joke around and say that she's pretty much become like the long lost daughter of HBK, with her being a double champion, unifying the titles and things like that, and just the way her image, if you will, you know what I mean. So like the fact that she rebuilt and reinvented herself to become, like I said, as I jokingly say, the long lost daughter of HBK, whatever, and put out the best work of her career, and especially when you can see how much of a viable asset that that she could have become if say if WWE decided to pull the trigger and send her to the main roster, because apparently the original plan was for her and Toxic Attraction to all go to the main roster. You know, um, so if anything, that would have been the ultimate purpose for her to drop. Initially, would have been the ultimate purpose for her to drop that title was to go to the main roster, and especially when it comes to SmackDown's women's roster and how depleted that is, they need all the help they can get. And I firmly believe that that Mandy would have been a very valuable asset when it like I said when it came to that particular brand. You know what I mean. So, like I said, like I said, if anything, they just need pretty much like all the help they can get. You know what I mean? Especially in this phase where at least half of the horsewomen are gone, at least for right now. As far as Charlotte and Sasha or Mercedes. You know what? And by the way, another headline. Sasha Banks, or at least Mercedes Varnado, has signed on to be a part of Wrestle Kingdom for New Japan. Another major headline. But like I say, if anything, this is the biggest topic as far as like this week, this day, and like I said, but once again, like I said, back to the Mandy thing. It's just that I find it kind of funny. Not in a funny type of way, not in a Dave Chappelle funny type of way. You know what I mean? Not in a stand-up Eddie Murphy type of funny, but funny weird, as in double standard. The fact that the fact that somebody like Mandy is paying this type of penalty, paying this type of price. Meanwhile, you've had male wrestlers, who have done predatory things. You know what I mean? Their receipts. A lot of these guys, I'll just say it like this. You have, speaking of one, you have a certain guy who is the current U.S. champion. Not to call Austin Theory out by name, but sorry about that. Not to call Austin Theory out by name, but I'm just saying, there's receipts on him. But meanwhile, he's an entire U.S. champion. You know what I mean? Like, like I said, there are receipts on Matt Riddle. Like I said, I'm not talking about the rehab stuff and things like that. That aside, has nothing to do with it. I'm talking about there are other, receipts when it comes to Riddle, but yet he's rewarded. But yet he's rewarded with a tag team title. Even before that, like the U.S. title, whatever. And just just like major spots and opportunities and things like that, just being prominently featured on TV. You know what I mean? So, but like if anything, that's been his reward. I think we all know about Seth Rollins. Let's just say flashing the money from his bank back in 2015, if you will. And so at first, people thought he was going to get penalized for that, but he gets rewarded handsomely. By maintaining them, he gets rewarded handsomely, by being the Money in the Bank winner and, having the biggest cash in of all time at WrestleMania and walking away as WWE champion after something like that. Paige, aka Saraya, just like I say, that certain sex tape, if you will, where she desecrated the former women's title, Divas title, whatever. But even after that, I'm pretty sure, I think, of course, eventually she got in, fair share of trouble, but at the same time, even after her career was initially over because of an injury, she still maintained a job with WWE for years. You know what I mean? So she was still on the payroll for years, but it's just that Like I say, meanwhile, Mandy, like I said, I'm not justifying her being on OnlyFans. I'm not saying that I'm part of her fan club, the biggest fan of hers, whatever. But I respect what she does in the ring. I respect what she brings to the table. I respect how much of a valuable asset uh, that she is when it comes to the women's division WWE. I respect the way that she redeemed her career, but now her career has been sabotaged, because she ended up losing her job because because certain certain IWC creeper out there decide to leak her photos, to WWE. And so WWE was like, you know what? Yeah, this may be too big of a risk. We're gonna have to go ahead and cut ties, cut our losses, wherever you want to, wherever the case may be, and just cease communication, part ways. Mandy, you out of here. And of course, and this is in the wake of talks of Vince McMahon trying to make a comeback to WWE. Side note, VKM, thanks for everything, but we don't need you no more. Thanks for 40 years of, like, of a legacy of excellence, like good, bad, and ugly, whatever, thank you very much. 40 years has been enough, and just leave it at that. Nothing more. Cut off is 40 years. We don't need you back around here no more. But the thing is, this release feels like something that Vince would do. You know what I mean? And it's just like, especially when you look at the double standards when it comes to the way that women are handled, and when it comes to controversy versus the way that men are handled when it comes to controversy, screams misogynistic all over. Screams misogyny all over. And I am someone who is absolutely advocate for anything dealing with women. In fact, they're talking to the same guy that back in March revealed my top 10 women's wrestlers of all time. I was, I'm a huge, proponent when it comes to the progress of women in wrestling. Side note, especially when it comes to Black women in wrestling, it's a whole nother story. Speaking of that, congratulations to Bianca, Athena, and Jade for all being champions. But all that aside, and speaking, and the funny thing about it, ironically, Athena was initially released because apparently, according to her, she didn't fit their prototype of a Mandy Rose image. She threw Mandy's name out there, so so apparently at some point Mandy, was considered an archetype. Was considered one of their archetypes when it for how they wanted the women to present themselves. The fact that Mandy's name was thrown out there, and then fast forward, here we are now at the end of the month, like 11 days away from Christmas, and Mandy's out the door. Someone that Athena pointed out at, like Athena said that WWE use it as an example for her, like I said, somebody that Athena said that WWE mentioned as an example of how they wanted her to be, Mandy. Like I said, Mandy's name was used as an example of how they wanted Athena to be. So that lets you know that apparently like they thought highly enough of her at some point to even do that. The fact that she carried the division for as long as she did, and the thing is, and the fact that WWE already knew about it, and the fact that you let her keep the title this long, even though you knew she had this whole thing on the side, when it came to, like I said, when it comes to this type of content, we all know what OnlyFans is all about. We already know how they roll. The fact that you knew that she was doing this, had a whole other platform, and you still let her run with the title as long as she did. So like, I mean, yeah, like, yeah, okay, I get it that that Mandy was in a, had her share of wrong, but at the same time, to let her carry on like that and then, you know, hit her when you least expect it. Come on, that ain't right. That ain't cool. I mean, come on now. Same company that, that had no problem with that Katie Vick storyline. But yeah, y'all want to call yourselves, family oriented show. And by the way, side note, the Katie Vick thing happened after they became a publicly traded company. So even after they became a publicly traded company, quote unquote, family oriented, they still had their fair and a whole bunch of skeletons in the closet, a whole bunch of receipts. Like I said, this is post 2000, and don't even get me started on the Attitude Era with the way that with the way that women were exploited, such as when Sable came out, with those handprints. You know what I mean? If you will, like with the way that with the way that with the way that Sable came out, with those black handprints, paint on with those two with those two black handprints, like say paint on both her tits. You know what I mean? So trying to get it out. But yeah, like I said, like, don't even get me started on that. That situation. Sable came out on Monday Night Raw on live TV, with handprints on both tits. Excuse the expression. But yet you're family oriented. Now I get it. That's a different time, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But still, even with that, like, who are you to point the finger? You know what I mean? I mean, like, I guess I should be feeling a little bit different considering the fact that it's been revealed that that she knowingly breached a contract or whatever. That was messed up. But at the same time, it's just like, of course, granted, like, there's both sides of the story. And the truth is somewhere in between, as I say. So it's like WWE was foul for them to do that. On the other end, Mandy willingly knew about this. And also you have to watch how you move on the internet. So that part I get, because if anything, I know how to, move on the internet. So that's just me. You know what I mean? I'm not in a situation like Mandy and everybody else, who has accounts like that, post the type of content, non-wrestling related. You know what I mean? Like I said, I can't really relate, but but at the same time, I could at least empathize and and just be like, you know what, that's messed up, especially when it comes to double standards, when it comes to just WWE's history of misogyny. And that's a trigger right there. So it's just like, I mean, come on. And the thing is, I even vouched when the women's 150 came out from PWI. I vouched on this podcast in other areas. I vouched for Mandy to be in the top 10 because she has consistently, like I said, from like, especially when it comes to that particular evaluation deadline, she fits that criteria to be in the top 10, even if she's number 8, if not 10 altogether. So it's just like, look, so many people complained about Charlotte's place. Hey, look, if you want to put Mandy at 8 and just move Charlotte to 10 at the minimum, I'm good with that. But I believe, that Mandy put in enough work and, to earn a spot like that. And Liv Morgan got a spot ahead of her. Look, I like Liv Morgan. Don't get me wrong. But Liv wasn't, like I said, carrying the title for that long, for 413 days like that. Now granted, she cashed in on Ronda, but at the same time, Mandy was the leader of her faction. Mandy reinvented herself. Mandy's put on the best work of her career. Now granted, like I said, of course, on one end, I get it that you certainly have to be wise out here in these internet streets, because you have, so you have weirdos and pervs who don't get no kitty cat, that are on creepy hours, going behind the paywall or whatever, and like leaking photos of her, which WWE caught wind of, and it was like, let's, we gotta do what we gotta do. You know what I mean? It's just like, congratulations, by the way, to Roxanne Perez, but still, like, come on now. In fact, I got this women's 150 right now. Mandy was like all the way down, like number 21. For whatever reason, I don't get it. That's just me. Yeah, right at number 21, Mandy Rose. Meanwhile, you have, like I said, nothing against Liv, have her number 17. You got Britt Baker at 13, Ronda 18, Deonna Purrazzo. Like I said, I don't have too much of a sample size on some of the people, in this ranking. So, like I see, I don't really have, like I said, too large of a sample size, and the thing is, like, I get it that, that they want to show honor to, like I said, on one end, it's just like, I guess I get it that you want to show honor, to Stardom. I don't want to, get too much on this, but I'm just saying, like, Mandy, if you don't put her at 10, maybe at least number 11. That's just me. But still, all in all, this whole situation has been foul. It's been very tasteless, and it is, what I mean. So it's just time to, time to move on to, to some of the, like, on a brighter note, on a lighter note. Now it is time for me to go into my nominees for my Victorious Ones year-end awards. Pretty much AKA the VIP awards. I was thinking about naming it the Vickies or whatever, just to be clever, but I'm just gonna call it the VIPs. And so of course, like I said, I've sent out a survey, if you will. And of course, the nominees, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Nominees for Male Wrestler of the Year: Roman Reigns, Gunther, Seth freaking Rollins, Jon Moxley, Adam Hangman Page, and Sheamus. I think I accidentally put Gunther on that twice. Disregard that. But yeah, like I said, those are the main nominees: Roman Reigns, Gunther, Seth Rollins, Jon Moxley, Hangman Page, and Sheamus. Match of the year: Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam 2022, the last man standing match. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins from Hell in a Cell. The Usos versus the Street Profits from Money in the Bank. Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre from Clash of the Castle. Roman versus Logan Paul from Crown Jewel. And Gunther versus Sheamus at Clash of the Castle. Notice the theme when it comes to Roman. Banger after banger. Shout out to Sheamus. Moment of the year: Brock lifting the ring with the tractor from SummerSlam match. Liv Morgan's cash-in. Undertaker's Hall of Fame induction. Stone Cold's return. Vince McMahon steps down as Triple H takes over. And Sami Zayn turns on Kevin Owens. I meant to add, if anything, I also meant to add Cody's return in Moment of the Year, because that was a huge moment in itself. Women's Wrestler of the Year: Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, Mandy Rose, aforementioned Mandy Rose, and Becky Lynch. So just to let people know that it's not just all WWE on here. If anything, I'm giving some recognition to AEW as well. I know certain AEW people, that certain pro AEW people that accuse me of just being pro WWE. What's up, Keeks? So like I said, I'm just letting you know that I can give AEW a spotlight as well. Like I said, so as far as that, and also another women's wrestler of the year, candidate, it's Shirai from Stardom, who's number one, on the women's 150. So that's another candidate for women's wrestler of the year. Return of the year: Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch, Bayley, Bray Wyatt, and Karrion Kross. The headline of the year, aka the WTF headline of the year. The nominees are Vince McMahon's retirement, Sasha and Naomi's walkout, Big E's injury, Triple H announcing his wrestling retirement, Logan Paul challenging Roman Reigns, and the AEW media scrum. Those are the nominees for headline of the year. Nominees for milestone of the year: Roman becoming the longest reigning Universal Champion, Roman unifying the titles. A lot of Roman in here. Usos becoming the longest reigning tag team champions. Chris Jericho becoming the ROH champion, and New Day winning the NXT tag titles. Faction of the year: the Bloodline, the Judgment Day, Brawling Brutes, Imperium, the Baddies, Blackpool Combat Club, and Toxic Attraction. The nominees for tag team of the year go to the Usos, FTR, Briscoes, and RK Bro. Breakout star of the year nominees: Austin Theory, Solo Sikoa, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Chad Gable, Ricky Starks, Carmelo Hayes, and Braun Breaker. Best ring gear nominees: Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Seth Rollins, and Cody Rhodes. And of course, last but not least, podcast of the year, and that is your choice. So without further ado, those are my nominees for, like I said, those are the categories of nominees, for my VIP awards. And that is your year in review episode. Thank you very much for watching.